Lightforge, this is ADWCTA.
This is Merps, and we are so close. The expansion is so close. And now we actually have tons of stuff to talk about because all the cards have been revealed.
Wait, all the cards have been revealed? You
All the
mean
cards.
we're not getting any more cards? Just these?
It's kind of sad, isn't it? But
I thought we were going to get some like killer priest cards. I don't know. It's just the rumors I heard. Like it was supposed to be such a bad class and constructed and an arena that we were just going to get the most amazing priest cards, and I thought those hadn't been revealed yet.
yeah, what happened to the unicorn deck, the unicorn card, right? Totally expecting the 4 mana 7/7 unicorn card for
Maybe they
priest.
were talking about the next expansion, not this one.
You gotta wait a long time for unicorns, man.
I mean, priest got to be patient, right? That's how you got to play priest.
I mean, he's not even old enough to drink yet. How old is he in the lore?
Wait, really?
He's really
Anduin's not
young.
21?
I think he's like super young, right?
He looks like a kid, but I thought it was just like, cartoon.
All right, I have to admit, I don't know that much about the lore, but I was pretty sure that he was super young. So
Okay, well, either way, he's never going to live up to his father, so we can just forget about that right now. So Karazhan has been released, but before we get to not released, it's been like fully announced, we know all the cards, but before we get there, today is actually the first anniversary of the Lightforge. 1 year ago today, we started this podcast with the goal of making it like the premier arena podcast in the Hearthstone community, and so people actually have an arena podcast because all the other podcasts, while they are really wonderful and we know and love a lot of those people, they're really very constructed focused. Like we're talking 90-10 split at best here. So we thought we'd fill in the gap, and 1 year later, it's been a very good success, I think, and we're definitely hoping to keep it going for many years to come, as long as there is an arena.
ooh, that
Which
sounds
given
ominous.
given Blizzard's recent performance at caring about the arena, it's looking a bit shaky.
All right, yeah, I think it's a good time to start this discussion off with just general class balance, right? We talked about it a little bit last week, and people were, rightfully sort of nervous and anxious, but you could always say, let's just wait to see what all the rest of the cards are, right?
Yeah.
We don't know what's in store.
We don't know any priest cards up until
Exactly.
Friday night.
Yeah.
That was like when it was Schrodinger's cat, and it could have been anything. Well, I guess it was either a living or dead cat, but it could have been anything. You don't know until you open the box.
You don't know, yeah. So
And then they opened the box.
what's in the box? And it was
It's
just
like
as bad.
it's like an okay cat, and then like a really dead cat.
What's in the box, indeed. Just as bad as it was in that movie that we're referencing. Anyways, yeah, so everyone's been talking about class balance and sort of the disparity between mage and priest. So should we just jump right into it and talk about the card that everyone is sort of talking about,
Yeah,
Purify?
let's start at the bottom. All right, I'm gonna set this up in case you were living under a rock and you had not participated in the whole Old Gods meta. In the Old Gods meta, there were two clear losers. One was called Hunter, and one was called Priest. They were both bad, but for different reasons. And me and Merps had a nice discussion for most of the last 4 months about which was actually worse. I think it was the Hunter, Merps thinks it was the Priest. Regardless, they're similarly bad, and they're bad for different reasons. Priest, in a slow meta with a lot of like taunts that aren't stats on the board, has a lot of room to like normally curve out, get stuff on the board, buff their things, play the card advantage game. Their problem was that they suck. And they still suck no matter how favorable the meta was to them in theory, because other classes also have favorable metas, and because their card quality just it slipped since like Classic, when they had dominant like card value advantage over other classes, and they were still pretty bad even in Classic. Hunter had the opposite problem, where the meta was awful to them. There was a lot of taunts, everything was slower. Like if you think about a taunt, right? Let's say it taunts 6 damage. That doesn't mean that you would have gotten 6 more face damage. That means you would have gotten 6 more face damage, plus however long it took your opponents to actually kill your stuff on the board. So you would have gotten like potentially like a lot more damage from that. So that was a big bummer for the Hunter. Now, with the old gods leaving, Hunter was naturally going to be okay. Like, maybe not good, but like it was naturally going to like bounce back a bit. You know, you give them a couple good cards, they'll be fine. Priest is about to enter a much crappier meta for the Priest because things are about to go fast. People are about to curve, they're about to be like pressured a bit more in the beginning, which they're not strong against. So what did Blizzard do to make sure Priest does not disappear off the meta?
Well, they gave and since we all know how impactful common class cards are, let's talk about the Priest class card that seems to be on everyone's mind, Purify, which is a 2-mana Priest common spell, which is silence one of your own minions, draw a card. Period. It has no other effect. It's not like, oh, also destroy enemy minion. JK,
Okay.
JK.
I will say this. This card would actually be like what I would think a totally normal card if it also healed 2 health to the minion you're targeting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I think the actual value. Because okay, you think about it. Draw a card, 2 mana. We've seen that before. Where have we seen it? Novice Engineer, 1/1.
Yeah.
It's 1/1 of stats, normal, right? Or Shiv, deal 1 damage, right?
Right.
What's 1/1 of stats? Also Wisp, 0 mana, right? But you don't draw a card. What's deal 1 damage is also a Moonfire, 0 mana, but you don't draw a card, right?
Sure.
Very very normal standard. So what you attach to a card that's 2 mana and draw a card, we know. We know, like standard, without any power creep, the ability should be worth about a 1/1 on the board or deal 1 damage, or the equivalent of a hero power, right?
Right. Yep.
So what Priest got was silence a friendly minion, which is totally worth a hero power, and it's just like dealing 1 damage to something because we have this card called a Wailing Soul, which has this effect on every minion on your side of the board, and it is like the most overpowered card. Like every time we talk about Blizzard and buffing cards and nerfing cards, that card is brought up as a card that they should probably nerf because it just kind of dominates the meta. And thank God it's a rare, right? If it was a common, can you imagine?
I can't. I mean, we are solely within the Wailing Soul meta, and if you haven't heard that anywhere else, that's just because people are too frightened of Wailing Soul to talk about Wailing Soul.
It's a little bit of a secret arena trick. You just draft the Wailing Souls and then you win because like they'll freeze you and you'll say nope, I got Wailing Soul. They'll cast Blessing of Wisdom on your minions and you'll say ha, you just wasted 1 mana on a card. Very very nice. You don't even. That's not even to say like your own cards with the negative abilities, right? Like you have an Anubar Ambusher, you Wailing Souls it. It's just a 5/5 for 4 mana.
Yep. So, ADWCTA, let me ask you this question. I look, we all kidding aside, we know it's not a good card. People are calling it though, sort of Bolster 2.0, right?
Well, Bolster's gonna get a lot better now, right?
That's true.
You now have Unleash the Bolster pawns.
Well, unleash the taunts and then bolster the taunts.
Yeah. So there's I'm referencing if you're listening to this and you don't know, it's a new warrior card. It's a rare. It's called Protect the King. It's Unleash the Hounds. Only instead of charging dogs, it's 1/1 pawns with taunt. So it's like fodder for Boster. For Bolster. They clearly want to make Bolster work. But yeah, Bolster's pretty bad still. Shatter's pretty bad still. Some class cards are really bad because they're purely combo cards and Arena's not a combo place. Purify's a combo card, but it's not anywhere near as bad as those 2 cards. And I think that's something that we really want to like hammer into our listeners' like heads. Priest at this point really shouldn't be getting any bad common class cards, and their rare card is actually pretty good. Onyx Bishop, 5 mana, 3/4, Battlecry, summon a friendly minion that died this game. That's actually a pretty good card.
Yeah.
So you got a rarity problem. Like it's a good card, but it's not really what the Priest needs. We always say Priest needs like curve cards and whatever, but it's at least a good card. This card is not good, but you should not overreact to it. Like we were talking last time about Firelands Portal, and how you shouldn't overreact to the Firelands Portal because, it's mage, it's a really good card, but it's not pushing the boundaries. Well, Purify is an even bigger example of that, because this is not even, like, close to pushing the boundaries of what a bad card can be.
No. So the difference between something like Bolster and Shatter versus something like Purify is still, at the end of the day, a cycle, right?
Yeah.
It's not a dead end. as in if it's a card in which, yes, it slows you down, yes, it presents an obstacle, but it provides a pathway for you to get to a real card, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just pay
Bolster,
your 2 mana and move on.
right. Something like Bolster, that's a dead end card. Like
Mhm.
it's a card in which that is it. Like
You lose your
the
card advantage. It's just in your hand. You do nothing with it.
Right, right. And obviously, the effect is more powerful if you can get it off. Something like Shatter is fantastic if you can actually get it off on a big minion. Something like Bolster is great if you, like turn three, um, Monkey, turn four, Senjin, and then for some reason, like those don't die, and then you Bolster, and you're very happy about it. But like those are still dead end cards. Purify,
Mm.
well, it is a very bad card still. It's not to the level of a bolster. Now,
Yeah.
if some people I think are not making the point that it's as bad as bolster. It's sort of the idea behind it, right?
Yeah.
Where warrior was really bad, and then they got a bolster. It's like priest is already pretty bad, and then they get a purify,
Yeah.
right?
So
And
I want to. Yeah, sorry, go on.
in that way, I totally understand like people's sentiments if they're phrasing it like that.
Yeah, but I want to just show people that Priest is. It's nowhere near where Warrior was at the time. Warrior had gone through 2 expansions with nothing. Like, nothing over a 50 rank card. And it had another expansion, which was a large expansion, that had nothing over a 50 rank common card. I'm going to show you now, if you're watching this on video. If you're a podcast, I'll name them. These are the priest cards from the last expansion. Rare, Shifting Shade. 4 mana, 4/3. Copy a card from your opponent's deck, add it to your hand. Rated, 74. Darkshire Alchemist. Common, 5 mana, 4/5. Restore 5 health. That was just in the last expansion. And in the expansion before that, they got Entomb, right? 6 mana. This is rated as 68. These are like really good cards. They're near premium cards. And priests have been getting them at a very good clip. So it's not like the Warrior where you had a class that needed help and Blizzard has just done nothing about it. Blizzard's doing stuff with the priest. It may not be the right stuff, but they're not like totally like abandoning the priest. And just to make things even less like extreme, Priest of the Feast is the other common card released in Karazhan, which is a 4 mana 3/6 with some ability that doesn't matter. It says whenever you cast a spell, restore 3 health to your hero. But what it really is just a 4 mana 3/6, and that itself is amazing for the priest. This is going to be a very highly rated card. And it's very highly rated because, like, think about how often you can remove a water elemental the turn it comes out. Like, nearly never, right?
Sure. But so here's the thing, and I understand that, like Entomb has been good, Darkshire Alchemist has been good, but I think the problem most people have is that it just seems like Blizzard is not whether they don't want to address it or they actually just don't see it, and the second one just seems ridiculous. But it's sort of like the analogy is sort of like, you can give them some good cards, but these aren't good cards that are fixing the problem with the priest. So it's like priest basically has like just got his leg blown off, right? And he's like bleeding out, and Blizzard's like, let's give you like a nice haircut, or like, hey, let's do your nails, or like, hey, I just bought you a big screen TV. Like, yes, these are improving like aspects of the priest's life, but you're not addressing the fact that he's like bleeding out from his leg, and let's get that taken care of before we give him like a mani-pedi, right?
It's still a lot better than just telling you, screw you, you're not getting anything. Which is what happened with the Warrior.
No. But we're getting to a point where they kind of can't, right? Like, they have to give a class like a decent
we
card.
thought that they couldn't do it with the Warrior either. I had like made huge bold predictions that there was no way the priest was gonna go, that the Blizzard was going to go 3 expansions in a row crapping on a really bad class in the arena. And then it happened. So what I'm saying is, look, Blizzard has its problems, right, in terms of balancing stuff, and the worst part is that they're like inexplicable problems. They're not like, oh, you didn't notice this. This is like everyone's shoving it in your face that you need to do something about this, and you're like, let's not. Or you're like, I'm gonna try and I'm just gonna fail. Like either way, it's very problematic. But in terms of like where it actually is, like practically speaking, it's not like they move priest out of the meta. I will say when we go over the hunter, like when we go to the hunter, you'll see right. Like priest is gonna be the worst class. It's definitely going to be the worst class in the Karazhan meta. I don't think anyone's going to be competing with it.
No.
But that doesn't mean that it's so far out compared to like the way the warrior was. That like I think at that point like warrior was winning like 2 or maybe 3 less games. I think 2 less games per run on average for the average player than like a mage, which means the average player was winning like 3, and like the average warrior player was winning like 1 point something.
Here's the thing though, like we're not that far away, right? Like this is the expansion in which we look at the state of priest, and if we look towards the next expansion and priest doesn't receive a lot of help, like if they just receive a little bit of help, I think we're gonna get to that point, right, where they are basically the TGT warrior sort of.
I don't completely agree. I agree somewhat, right? Because like I said, warrior had gotten nothing for 2 expansions, and then a 3rd expansion came out with nothing. That's how warrior got to where warrior is. Priest has gotten stuff for 2 expansions, pretty good stuff, just not really what they need. And so in one more expansion, if they get like nothing the next expansion, yes, I think it will be pretty problematic. Not the level of the warrior problematic, but problematic enough that like at that point you really have to like shove it in Blizzard's face, because at that point they're breaking the game. I don't think the game is broken yet, because we do have Priest of the Feast, which is actually something that Priest needs. Like if you're talking about curved cards that help you stay on the board, a 3/6 4-drop may not be the same level as a premium 2-drop, but it's close. And I kind of like it because I like the flavors of classes. I'll get back to this before. I like it when you preserve the zone of the classes. And for Priest, what is the zone of the Priest? It is these like bigger types of minions. It is this like holding the board and making sure you have stuff on the board, and then you buff them and then you heal them kind of thing. So Priest of the Feast it's so on point in terms of a card. I love the card design. Doesn't make up for the fact that Purify is a common. I don't think so, but at the same time, it's like, you know, you have one hit and you have one miss, right? Whereas for the warrior, you're just repeatedly missing, and by missing, I mean you're shooting it in the head repeatedly when it's already dead, just to make sure. Like that was like vile what they did to the warrior. So yeah, so I'm with you. I'm watching the next expansion. I'm thinking and hoping that they'll fix the problem in there. And I think there's good precedent for it, right? Like what happened in LoE? They brought the warrior back. What happened in OG? They brought the shaman back. What happened in Karazhan? They're bringing the hunter back. Hunter's going to be back in a big way. So what's going to happen in the next expansion? It's obviously going to be the priest. I've been wrong about this before, because I said it was obviously going to be the warrior before TGT, and we all knew what happened there. But
yeah, so we'll see. But this is something in which I think the community is justifiably sort of angry and confused, like more so confused.
Confused.
Right?
I'm confused too, don't get me wrong. I don't think you should be that angry. It's just like a missed opportunity for Blizzard, and Blizzard takes that. We'll talk about this when we talk about the mage, which I think is a similar kind of issue in terms of Blizzard's philosophy of doing this. But let me start off with a question before we go on to the mage. And the question is, why is Purify common and Onyx Bishop a rare?
See, that's the thing I was gonna... we addressed this last week, right? We were just like, okay, with the rarities, especially for an adventure, there's not really any sense to making something rare versus... Like, it should just be purely on a balance level, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I really don't. Like, I don't know of any good reason. Because you can throw reasons out there just like they don't care, or they don't know, or...
They can't not know for this.
They can't not know. And that's the thing. Like, I don't... So even when we were sort of, you know, tempering the anger that was Fireland's Portal last week, we were just like, well, the one thing that remains is we still don't know what's up with the rarities. Mm-hmm. And for this, I'm just like, I really don't know. I'm not sure what's going on with the rarities here.
moving on to the mage with the rarities point, we got answers. The Blizzard Team 5 has been communicating with the community, and they have said two things about this. They've said a lot of things about Constructed too. I'm not going to talk about that. They said two things about mage in the arena as an update from last time, and one is from Mike Denice. I'm going to mispronounce this guy's name forever. I really don't know how to pronounce his name. Mike D, who is the person that they bring forward every time we talk about the arena, because he plays a lot of arena. He averages like 6 wins per run or something, something respectable. Like he knows what's going on, and he's kind of their, if not their head balance, he's a senior game designer, so he's like probably their like final say of arena balance. And he said, I'm not quoting, but I'm paraphrasing, but this is really what it is. And twice in the span of like 4 sentences. So this is like his overarching reason for doing this. There are 2 good cards, similar value, and then there's 1 bad card that we are going to give to the mage in this expansion. And so rather than making both good cards common, we thought we make, the bad card common and one of the good cards common and one of the good cards rare. And then that's, what we can do about it. And I think that's considering the arena. So there's 2 problems with that, and we'll get to what Ben Brode said after that. But there's 2 problems right off the bat with this, which is really obvious if you know anything about the arena and you look at these cards. Because I'm showing the cards right now. Why don't you tell me how good the card is, Merps, and I'll describe the card. Okay.
Oh, are we talking about Medivh's Valet?
Medivh's Valet. It's a 2-mana 2/3. Battle Cry. If you control a secret, deal 3 damage.
3 damage. That's a lot of damage.
So what do you think this card is? Good? Bad?
It's okay. It's a 2-drop, and it has a big upside, right? In Constructed, I could see it being quite good, although I'm not a Constructed player. But in Arena, let's think about it for a second. You have to draft a secret, you have to play it, and if you're playing a secret, it's not like Paladin, which you could turn 1 secret and turn 2 suddenly, bam, 3
Okay,
damage.
I think you're missing the point here. I'm trying to get at that there's no way anyone looks at this card and thinks bad in the arena. Because it's at its base a croc.
Yeah.
Even if
it's
the
not
ability
bad.
never triggers.
Right.
This
it's
is not a bad
at all.
card. For the arena balance guide to describe it as a bad card is kind of worrying. And especially when, some reference was made to like before when they had a bad card, which was Shatter. These are not anywhere remotely the same. So if you're going to call Shatter bad, you got to find a different adjective for Medivh's Valet. It's got to be like average. Okay, now the other 2 cards are Firelands Portal, which we all know and love. It's 7 mana, deal 5 damage, summon a random 5-cost minion. And then Babbling Book, which is 1 mana, 1/1, Battle Cry, add a random mage spell to your hand. So, Web Spinner for mages.
Essentially.
Which one of these is better? Alright, like, that's a stupid question to ask, because anyone who knows anything about the arena, like, we're talking, like, people who average 3 wins can look at this and figure out the Firelands Portal, you are getting a whole crap ton of stuff for way less mana than you should get it for, and that it's a removal. Whereas Babbling Book is anti-tempo. It's, you get a nice spell out of it, but Firelands Portal is a nice spell. So you don't even have to, like, roll the dice for a nice spell. Like, there's no, like, I'm not being, okay. I don't think I am being, like, elitist, like, oh, I'm an arena expert, I can look at these cards and see which one's good or not. Like, anybody who knows anything about the arena, and I really hope this is just Mike D trying to cover his ass and like saying that these are both good so that Firelands Portal can be a common, a Battling Book can be a rare, and they can be flipped and it doesn't really matter all that much. But he has to realize that Babbling Book is significantly worse than Firelands Portal. They're going to be rated more than 20 points apart. Much more than 20 points apart on the tier list.
The only reason that I can think of, like, that they would do this, because if they have people who are actually looking at it and not just like throwing darts onto a dartboard and assigning it that way, is they want to keep the structure that they already have, right? Like, they want Mage to have this value oriented game and still be really good, and like they do want to.
He didn't say that.
Way. No, he didn't. But
he was specifically asked point blank why, and he gave a 4 or 5 sentence answer in which he stressed this point that Firelands Portal and Babbling Book are about the same twice. That's like 40% of the real estate he used to address arena concerns dedicated to this idea that Firelands Portal and Babbling Book are really kind of similar.
I mean,
nice try defending Mike. It's kind of hard. I'm not saying that there's an easy way into this, and this is not like off the cuff statements. It's like an interview with like some publication. Like it's legit. Like PC Gamer or something. It's like they thought this out. This was vetted by their team. This is their response. And to make matters worse, Ben Brode comes out and says something afterwards. And normally communication is good, but I'm going to paraphrase again what Ben Brode said in. I think he like tweeted it or something, like a video. And he's like, we understand there are arena concerns. We're working on something that will change like potentially offering rates or something to just make the arena like different, right? It's because we're finding balance in the arena very difficult. And that'll be a long-term solution. So making Firelands Portal a rare, Babbling Book a common or whatever really wasn't going to fix like the entire arena. And so that's why, Firelands Portal is a common.
See, yeah, here's the thing about Mike D and Ben Brode's answer. It doesn't get to the heart of people's concerns, which is it doesn't seem like you guys are getting it. And the answer of, well, it won't help anyways, it's sort of like, well, okay, it might not solve the issue, but it shows that you either don't care or you just like there's a disconnect here with the arena community and with the developers, right?
Like what I'm wondering is they know people play the arena between now and when they're gonna fix the problem, right? Like it's not like
people buy arena tickets too. It's a source
we're
of
just non-existent and we'll come back to the arena when you fix it. Like there's fixing the problem, right? Which is hard. It's difficult. It may take a lot of time. We're not even like anxious about it, right? Like we didn't get angry about the Warrior until 3 expansions, which was an entire year of taking a dump on the Warrior before we actually got angry about it. Like we're, pretty like wait and see kind of like people, generally speaking. And it's one thing to wait and see about the big picture. But in the small picture, to not do these little things that make a big difference in the arena experience, it's just, there's no reason for it. There's absolutely no reason for it. And when asked point blank what your reasons are for it, they did not give reasons.
No.
Mike D says, either I don't have a reason or I'm incompetent. Ben Brode says, we will fix this in the future, but for now we will do nothing. I'm barely paraphrasing what they're saying. This is like what they wanted to communicate to us, not off the cuff again. This is like very planned out. This is their response. This is how the team thinks. This is how Blizzard develops this game. That's what's concerning. Like, why? What are you? This reminds me of the Warsong Commander nerf, where like right after going on the Angry Chicken podcast, Ben Brode, this is during Arena Warriors Matters, Ben Brode was talking all about like, yeah, we're going to fix the Warrior. We recognize there's a problem. We care about the arena. This is going to happen. And then they nerfed a totally decent card in the Warriors kit for constructive purposes down to a level where it was even unplayable in an arena. And they didn't have to, and it would still be out of the constructed meta.
Right. You could have just made it into a 3-4, right?
Or 3-3.
Or a 3-3.
Just a 3-3. Just like a playable card. Warrior card quality was so bad at that point. A 3-3 class card would have been a godsend. And what was the answer? It was pretty much that, well, look, you have another, like, month or so of the meta before we come out with the new cards, which are going to give Warriors a lot of cards, so, like, just wait. And while that's fine and good that you eventually solve the problem, there was no downside to also solving the problem in the interim by a little bit, and which will make the problem be less when you're actually solving it later on, right? Because if Warsong Commander was a 3-3, Warriors would be a tiny bit even better now. Like, these are just... And that was also when he gave the soul of the cards argument. I'm glad we didn't get anything like that, because that was, like, beyond incomprehensible. At least this kind of stuff is just, like, it's not a good decision, and there's no... Like, I'm just weighing the utilities here. Like, there's no... It's not like we need Blizzard to go in and, like, have long discussions or program stuff or whatever. Like, they made a conscious decision to give the worst card, like, or the slightly worse, well, it's the significantly worse card, but still a good card, Babbling Book, a rare tag, and the Firelands Portal, a common tag.
Yeah.
Conscious decision.
And I mean, this is what we're stuck with for the next few months, right? And
Well, we're stuck with this forever.
well, I'm always hoping that the next expansion will bring just.
Oh, I just mean Firelands Portal will always be a common.
Oh, that's
Babbling
true.
Book will always be a
That's
rare.
true.
We're
Yeah,
stuck with
yeah.
those forever. Like, it's missed opportunities, right? Like, we're not even at the point where we're like, hey, you should make cards just for the arena. We're like, hey, you pick 3 cards to make. This is an adventure where rarity really doesn't matter for any other purpose besides the arena. At least in this tiny, tiny sliver of circumstances, just balance it for the arena rather than randomly or by your whim or, I don't know, floating manatees pegging things in a tank. I don't know, okay? Like, I don't know what method they're using to determine rare and common. But just add insult to injury. There's another card in Karazhan. When I'm going to read it, you may think this sounds familiar. It's called Swashbuckler. It's a rogue card. And it's a 1-mana 1/1. It's a pirate too. And it has a battle cry that says, add a random class card to your hand from your opponent's class. If this sounds a lot like Web Spinner for rogues, if this sounds a lot like Babbling Book for mages, it's because it is.
That's true.
And you know what rarity Swashbuckler is? You know what rarity Web Spinner is?
I believe it is a common, sir.
It's a common.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to go out of their way, break with their usual, like, assignment of rarities, just to screw with us. Like, and there's no defense for it. Even to now, no one has offered a defense for why it was done this way. Mike D, even if you think that he's dumb enough to not know Firelands Portal is actually a lot better than Babbling Book, he at least thinks they're equal. So it could have gone either way. That's like the most we'll get. So to break with precedent and it's not like they forgot about Web Spinner when they were designing these cards either. They freaking designed another card that was just like Web Spinner and made that one a common. Right? Like, these are the people in charge of the game that we love. And that's worrisome, right? Like, you wouldn't trust your kid with these people. Like, I'm thinking if I have a kid and I'm sending them to, like, preschool or whatever, and I see this, I'm like, no, I'm taking it out. I'm finding another preschool. Are you kidding me?
First of all, I don't think you should ever base decisions of your child with Hearthstone card balance. It's like when you enroll them in a school, it's like, just to be sure my child is safe and will get the best educational experience, how would you rate these 2 cards?
You see, you do not know how I think then. And this is also probably why, assuming you're right, it's probably a good thing I don't have kids. But I think that it's very important that if someone is to be competent at their job, and they have shown repeatedly that they're not terribly competent, and that worst of all, they don't really know why they're not competent. It's not like, we see a problem, we'll fix it. It's like, oh, we don't think there's a problem. What do you mean there's a problem? I think it's okay. When there clearly is a problem to, like, everybody who's looking at the situation. We're kind of in a hostage situation right now, right? Like, it's not like we can pick a different design team or like a different balancing team, right? It's not really a design problem, it's more a balance problem. It's not like we could pick a different balance team for Hearthstone. We have no effect over what Blizzard does. We just kind of sit here and take it. But it's not a good situation. Like, this worries me much more than if they, like, just decided to, like, make an overpowered card, right? Because then you're like, all right, so they wanted an overpowered card. This is like, there's no reason for it. Like, no reason. That's way more scary than having a reason and just having it be a bad one.
Right.
Because bad reasons are predictable. No reasons is completely unpredictable.
Yeah, and that's a scary thing. Like, last week we were hoping that once the cards came out, we could see the method to the madness, right?
No, it's just madness.
It's just madness,
Just
and
madness.
I don't understand it. Because if you can't see the reason, and when asked, they sort of just dodge the question and don't provide an answer.
They didn't dodge the question. Everyone says they dodged the question only because they didn't give an answer that people wanted. Because there was no answer that people wanted that would make sense for them to give. They answered the question. The problem is that they answered the question, and you're like, that's it? That's all you got? I don't think they're, like, sitting there and being like, oh, we're gonna hide the real reason from you. I really don't think they know what's going on.
I think people say they dodge a question because there's no way that can be an answer.
But it is. Like, think about what could be the answer at this point, right? That you wouldn't give over these answers. Nothing. If you had something, you'd say it, right? If you had anything, you would say it.
I don't look. Maybe we're way too short-sighted, and there's a long game that we just do not know about. Probably not.
Like like that rogue card that destroys your weapon and it deals AOE damage that they nerfed down for no good reason. But it opened up design space for them to create these wonderful rogue cards today that uses that would have been totally overpowered if that card was in the meta.
Blade Furry.
Yes, Blade Flurry. But now that Blade Flurry is no longer in the meta, like Deadly Fork won't be overpowered, will it? Because otherwise, God forbid, we would have Deadly Fork. It would just be over.
Man. Also, this means my prediction was wrong because remember my prediction last week. I thought warriors were going to get the fork weapon, but
Yeah,
rogues got it.
Rogue's got the fork weapon. It's
So
true.
I was correct in that there would be
You were.
I specifically said a fork weapon,
Uh-huh.
right?
Mhm.
But rogues got it instead of the warrior.
All right, so let's move on to the rogue. We already kind of did with Swashbuckler. And Deadly Fork, by the way, we make fun of it only because of the Blade Flurry nerf and that this is the weapon rogues get. But it's actually a pretty good card, I think. It is 3 mana, 3/2 with a death rattle that says add a 3/2 weapon to your hand. So it's good. Like one of the big problems with Squid Face from the last expansion was that it triggered immediately, so you had to always keep a weapon kind of vaguely set up, otherwise you lose its whole ability, right?
Yeah.
And we feel a little better about Squid Face now than we did before. We're gonna give it 4 more points. At some point, we like took away 8 points from it, and I think we overdid it. We should only take away 4 points, so we're gonna give it 4 more points coming up soon. But with Deadly Fork, you don't have that problem. It just goes into your hand, and you may think, oh, by the way, the 3/2 weapon is cost 3 mana, and you may think Fire War Axe costs only 2 mana. This is a crappy card, and to which I direct you to the Lightforge tier list. Look at Hunter. Look at Eagle Horn Bow. It's a 78.
Pretty good.
And Eagle Horn Bow's ability does not do all that much. So it's really just kind of like a 70. And yeah, it's in Hunter. And yeah, it'll be lower in other classes. But it's right? Like, it's not going to be that bad of a card.
Yeah, it's just all right. So Deadly Fork is definitely a slower card than we're used to with rogues, especially low-cost rogue cards, right? Low-cost rogue cards, you're used to a high amount of tempo, or you're used to sort of getting more stuff than what you're used to. Look at Buccaneer, Undercity Valiant, Goblin Autobarber, etc., etc. So this is one of those cards in which you actually just go for value, right? And there's nothing extra about it that presents you with something on the board or sort of, it's one of the first cards, I think, in like 3 expansions that the Rogue has got that really just slows you down in a way. But it does provide some very good value because, like you said, it gives a pretty decent weapon.
Yep. So, like, is it a premium card? It's not a premium card, but it's basically a 3 mana 3/2 card that says draw a card worth about like 70 points, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not bad. I'll take that. So
Yeah.
it's a good card. And then you look at the final one, Ethereal Peddler, which is a pit fighter. I could always use extra pit fighters in your offering rates.
Yeah.
Rogue's got a pretty good set too here, right? Like,
Yeah.
is it Firelands Portal? It's not Firelands Portal, but it's pretty good.
No, I mean it's pretty good. Well, the fact that you have an offering rate bonus to Swashbuckler, right? So you play Swashbuckler sometime in the first 4 turns, and then you can Ethereal Peddler it, and you're not losing any stats with Peddler. In fact, those are the stats that you want out of a 5-drop. So there's definitely some synergy there, and that's one thing we look for in terms of synergy within the offering bonus, right? We saw that in the current expansion with Warlocks, the Councilman and the Possessed Villager, right?
Yep.
Those are, well, I mean, that's even more synergy because both are commons, but something you want to look for as well is we have synergy between the increased offering rate cards, and here we do to some extent. So that's always another added consideration for the value of these cards.
Yeah. Okay, so that's so ultimately, I think people are going on about how Mage is going to be so dominant. We think Mage is better than Rogue in the current meta, but I think in the next meta it's going to be a little faster, and Rogues will probably be a little better than Mage, despite the fact that Mage is getting a much better card than the Rogue is. And that they're both losing about the same, right? Like Shadow Strike is really good, but so is the Faceless Summoner. So I think the Rogue is going to be pretty well equipped going into the next meta. And I'm going to release a video on Tuesday that's going to be like, I don't know, like 2 hours long, because I just recorded it earlier today. And it went for 2 hours. I don't know. I was just talking about this expansion. And so if you want like a super in-depth look on like everything, I don't even go card by card there. We're going to do card by card on the Lightforge as promised, week by week. And we would have done it this week, actually card by card, if we knew what the heck was coming up in week 1. But we don't. But hopefully by week 1, they will have the whole release schedule out. And then we'll actually know what it is for the rest of the weeks. But yeah, so ultimately, I think Rogue may actually be better than Mage in this expansion, or if not, at least like very similar. But that being said, class balance wise, the other classes, huh?
I don't get it. Anyways, go on, go on. I'm still sitting here confused over what Blizzard has done.
About the rarities and this
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, I mean, looking at the classes that come after that, you have Paladin, and these, you just look at the Paladin cards, they're not good. I don't think anyone's going to argue that they're good.
No.
So that's going to be a problem because they're already falling. Shaman is going to be hurt by the meta because you need your totems on the board. There's going to be more stuff out there, which means on your opponent's side, which means your totems are going to get cleared, and they didn't get very good cards either. Those are your good classes. Oh, Warlock. Warlock got okay cards, I guess, but they're going to be hurt by the meta as well. So just all of your classes that have been doing well in the OG that are not Mage and Rogue are not going to do as well in the next meta. Whether because their cards are going to like not be as good, or because the meta is going to shift against them, or both, right? Like Shaman and Warlock took a big advantage of the meta, especially Warlock, and it's going to change. The meta is going to change on day 1 of Karazhan being released because the OG offering bonus is going to go away, and all those taunts are going to like be drafted 1/3 less often.
Yeah.
That gap right there between the very top Rogue and Mage and the next tier of classes, it's going to be big.
Yeah. That's something that a lot of people worry about. They're just sort of, sick of seeing the top classes stay at the top. And we've seen some movement definitely in the middle, but I think people want a shakeup at the very top, right? They want to see, like, I don't know, the warrior be number 1, or maybe even the druid be number 1, right? A class that's been typically in the top third just suddenly take the very top spot.
Mm-hmm.
But
the number 1 class has always been Rogue or Mage, and arguably Paladin at one small point.
Right.
That's it.
Paladin basically held, like, you could argue that they held it for one expansion.
We'd argue against it, but there is an argument to be made. There is no argument to be made for any other class.
No, not at any time during the arena's existence. So,
we'll just tick off the rest really quickly. Hunter got better. We mentioned that. Druid's going to get better, mostly just because they got crappy cards in OG, and that's gonna be limited. And they got the good new cards: Enchanted Raven, 1 mana 2/2, Menagerie Warden, 6 mana 5/5. Choose a friendly beast, summon a copy of it, and that's snakes. It's always snakes. Well, now it's also going to be whatever the heck this thing is.
Now you have to clear Druid Beast now.
You have to.
You absolutely have to. And
I would leave a Hunter Beast on the board way more frequently than a Druid Beast.
Right, because I'm like, you gained a 2/2, okay. Or like you gain +2/+2 stats, that's fine, whatever. Or you have a more powerful kill command, okay, fine. But I'm gonna hit your face for like 10 damage, right?
Yeah.
Druid Beasts are now, oh man, much scarier. And like with the Menagerie Warden, everyone's looking at the turn 5 Stranglethorn Tiger, turn 6, like basically summon 10/10s worth of stats, but typically it won't be
5/5/5/5/5/5.
Yeah, it's like the
But only 2 of them are beasts.
yeah, you remind me of the Domino's 555 deal. Oh man. Those were some good college years. But yeah, I mean Druid will definitely get a little bit better, I think. Just the OG cards were questionable, and I'm looking forward to playing with the Enchanted Raven. So we'll see. But like the time in which the Druid was solidly mid tier, I think that's gone, and I'm not sure that'll ever come back.
I don't know. I think Druid's gonna be mid tier again. Like as soon as the taunts go away, I predict the Druids will be mid tier again. Because they still have a ping for a hero power. It just didn't feel like it in the last expansion because there were so many taunts.
I think Druid is a class that really needs more removals, and they haven't gotten any good removals at all. Like Feral Rage is the
OG
best
gave
thing
him
they've
a
gotten.
removal, yeah. It's not that bad. It's a removal.
You got to use your face, and that's always a little bit iffy going into the mid and late game. We'll see, though. We'll see. I mean, look, I don't think this is the expansion that kills the Druid, but once again,
It helps the Druid. I think it
it
helps the
does.
Druid.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Like, I think this meta will be more favorable for the Druid, but it's not like they gave the Druid ridiculously OP cards this expansion.
Yep. And we'll end the class discussion, I guess, on the Warrior, which I'm not going to go over all the cards, but the cool one is a weapon, a nice weapon. It is 5 mana, 3/4, which reminds you of an Assassin's Blade, but it has text and it says unlimited attacks each turn, cannot attack heroes.
So we can't get the super power blast on turn 5.
I was so sad when I read that last part.
Yeah, but well, look, Arena Warriors apparently still matter because this is a ridiculous card,
It's
right?
an insane card. When I first saw it, I was like, it's not that good, right? It's just an Assassin's Blade. And I thought about it somewhere. I'm like, oh no.
No.
Oh no. It's like a Arcanite Reaper for 6 damage, or for 9, or for 12. You just have to take a bit more face damage. And you can use it highly flexibly. So it's really good.
It's
This
very good.
is the best card of the expansion. I don't think it is an exaggeration to say that. This is the best card of Karazhan. Fool's Bane.
I think I mean, even if you disagree, you have to say that it is like pretty close to being the best card, just because the problem we've always had with weapons, right? Number one is there's only one slot. There's only one weapon slot, so everything gets clogged up. And because you only have that one slot, like you only have one attack, right? Like having one attack in this valuable slot always sort of held back weapons in a way.
Yeah.
And also with weapons, if you were behind, let's say they had 3 minions, because you couldn't attack all of those on a single turn before, like, you killed one, the other 2 on the next turn goes to your face, and then you hit, like, you're taking 4 to 5 times more damage than you would.
Yep.
And Fool's Bane just allows you to sort of get rid of all those future attacks and say, yep, I'm just going to kill all of them right now. So so I don't take that extra damage. Now, the 3 attack is a little bit awkward, right? Like 3 attack is probably
Well,
not.
you're just gonna have to hit things twice. That's all.
Right. You have to hit things twice. So it's not like the super god tier card, but it's.
Well, look at it this way: if your opponent has something with 6 health, which happens all the time, this can actually remove it. Your Arcanite Reaper can't remove it. And God forbid your opponent has like a big minion, like even if it's just a 5 health minion, and a small minion, like a 3/2 or a 2/3. An Arcanite Reaper would have to hit the big minion once, and then the next turn hit the small minion once, and you lose your attack, right? You can't attack.
Yep.
Whereas a Fool's Bane, you just hit it 3 times, and you've taken essentially the same amount of damage, because remember, the small thing you don't remove would have hit your face the next turn anyway. So you don't even take... You take like 1 extra damage compared to the other situation. And you still get 3 damage the next turn for free to swing at something. Like, it's flat out better than Arcanite Reaper.
It's going to be pretty good. Arena Warriors still matter.
Arena Warriors still matter, even though Ironforge Portal is the other card. Okay, So people are in Twitch chat are wondering about Firelands Portal. Yes, I do remember Firelands Portal. Yes, I do think Fool's Bane is better than Firelands Portal. If you've been following our discussion on Firelands Portal, you can probably tell we're not like that high on Firelands Portal. Whereas Fool's Bane is like a game changer. Like,
Firelands Portal is still going to be a really, really highly rated card.
okay, Firelands Portal will be the second best card of this expansion.
Yeah.
But I don't think people freak out about the warrior card because it's warrior, and they freak out about the mage card because it's mage.
Right. I mean,
Like,
it's sort of the number one. Oh, sorry, questionably the number one class in Arena getting a super good card.
Yeah.
Right. No one cares about like the fifth or sixth best class
yeah.
in the Arena getting a very good card. It's
And I
like,
will say this:
ew.
this is the worst that the Warriors gotten overall when you factor in the Ironforge portal as well, since TGT. So I'm actually curious if Warriors will survive this. Because you know how Warriors like get really crappy really fast when you stop giving them extremely overpowered cards?
Yeah.
As you know, Blizzard and Ben Brode fully are aware of. So I think this is like the experiment of like, well, can we at least not give them all insanely good cards? You know? Because just to like have a little bit of design space for our non-arena offerings for the Warrior. And so we'll see what happens to the Warrior. But I would not be surprised at all if the Warriors, like, despite this amazing card, does not get any better.
Yeah. Because you're losing like Ravaging Ghoul, you're losing these amazing cards.
It's Atha's first mate.
Yeah. So you're gaining Ironforge Portal, which is well, I guess you need the armor now that you're going to be hitting everything on the board with Fool's Bane.
Oh my god. Cards with armor, so bad. So bad. Because in Constructed, they're so good, so you know these cards can't be good in the arena.
Yeah.
that's really all it is.
Yeah, that's a problem because armor is so good in Constructed, but it's terrible in Arena.
Yeah, there's just no synergies to it. All right. Let's move on to our second topic. We do have more topics, which is card previews. We've talked about some of the cards we wanted to talk about. I was going to talk about all the portals, but I don't really want to anymore. We're running a little low on time, so let's just talk about some of the neutral cards. What card do you want to talk about?
I want to talk first about Runic Egg. It is definitely not a very sexy card, but
wait. We have different definitions of sexy then.
Apparently we do, and
I always thought we had the same definition, but
I don't want to continue down this road with you.
Oh, okay.
But you know, let's talk about. I don't want to talk about how you think of eggs and runic eggs and whatever. But
it's purple and shiny.
Great, and if that does it for you, that's fantastic. Runic Egg is a neutral 1-mana common minion that is an 0/2 with the death rattle of draw a card. So you can think immediately about cards such as like the Nerubian Egg, right? Like it's a card in which you put it down, it sort of guarantees you board presence. Your opponent is highly disincentivized to kill it, and then by doing that, you always have sort of this guaranteed initiative, right? To buff something, and to, you know, to basically give you something to buff at all times. I like the design of this card because it further puts in this calculation of like, well, should I kill it or should I not kill it, right? Because the value of having something to buff on the board is it changes throughout the game, and it changes depending on what class it is as well. With Nerubian Egg, a lot of times you're like, oh, of course I don't want to pop it, or like you don't want to pop it until you can afford to like take care of the 4/4, right? So it's pretty easy. With this, it's definitely more nuanced, and it introduces this additional calculation, which I really like because I think you know, forcing players to consider these additional calculations is something that we want the game to have. And so that's why I think it's interesting in design space. As for whether or not it's good, it's like, oh, it's not that great. Obviously, you know, you put it down, and a lot of times you're not getting the card back for a long time.
Here's what I would put it in terms of, because I think the exact opposite is you when it comes to what to do with the egg. But I think it's a good play on design space, because normally what does an egg give you? It gives you a 4/4 or it gives you a 2/1, which means it gives you tempo on the board. So you need to hit the egg, then you need to hit the extra thing that comes out of the egg. So you need 2 hits to take care of this one thing that's like 1 or 2 mana. And it's like why would you do that? Because what if he buffs something on the board? What does he get? Tempo, right? But what if you break the egg? What do you get? I mean, what does he get from that? Tempo. So you're like trading tempo for tempo, and it just doesn't make sense to kill the egg. You like force him to have the card to actually, pop his own egg. On the other hand, he doesn't get any tempo if you kill the egg here. Whereas if you leave it on the board, he could get tempo if he buffs the thing. So the consideration now is that, do you want him to have options in his hand? Because this egg is going to pop at some point, right?
Sure.
Do you want him to get the options in his hand, or do you want him to have the chance to get tempo? So I would err on the side of giving him the card. If I have an extra attack that was going to go face, I would kill the egg as if it were a totem and just give him the card, rather than let it hang out and wait for it to be buffed at some point.
Well, see, it's not 100% for you, right? Like, I'd be surprised if you said it's like almost an 100%.
Unless I'm pushing lethal, it's almost 100%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
yeah, no,
even in classes that's not like, priest or paladin, or the classes where you obviously clear it, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, it's definitely not 100%. Like, I do agree, initiative is very strong in this game, but I like how it adds in this calculus. Like, for me, it's definitely not automatic. Like, I have to think about it, and I have to consider, do I want to give him this extra card? Because, yeah, there's the tempo consideration, like, but you have to weigh sort of like, well, him having one more / one less option versus this, like, for me, it's definitely not automatic. So I like the fact that it challenges me to consider it, right? Like, if it's automatic, then
I want to say in about a month we need to have this conversation again, and by then the egg would have punished you so much for having been left on a board against like a mage or some other class that can't buff it that you'll be like, yeah, I just kill the egg now when I can.
I just, for me, the design is really good if it makes me think, right? Like, and not just see, what I think is lazy is if they introduce like 20 secrets for a class.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, we're making you think. I'm like, no. Introducing 20 secrets for one class in a big bunch, that's not making me think. That's just like making me like check off all these things at once.
Mm-hmm. It's not strategic thinking.
Lazy.
It's keeping track of a checklist.
Exactly.
It's not as fun.
Right. This, where you're sort of going through the balances and the hidden probabilities, and you're trying to guess the right probability. It's very skill based and it's fun, right?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So I really like the design space for Runic Egg here.
All right, next card that we're going to talk about is Zubat. This is the quote-unquote new mechanic for Karazhan, because once again, for 2 expansions in a row, we don't actually have a new mechanic. Blizzard, get on your game. This game, work on it, create some mechanics. We're getting bored over here, and you can't keep just like waving your hands and creating new versions of the same cards and have us be okay with it. The OG meta already got pretty stale pretty fast. I really hope the Karazhan meta doesn't do the same. It'll at least last 1 month longer because it has a release period of a month. So it has that going for it. But if it's then stale like 1 month from then, like, it's still going to be a pretty big disappointment because they're not going to come out with the next expansion until like December. So this is their new mechanic to try to keep things fresh, but unfortunately it really is more of a constructed kind of mechanic. And Zubat is a 3-mana 3/3, it is a mech. It says, give a random friendly beast, dragon, and murloc +1/+1. That's not give all of your friendly beast, dragons, and murlocs +1/+1, but it gives one of each. So if you have like 2 murlocs, 3 dragons, and and a beast, then you get 1 on the beast, 1 on a dragon, and 1 on a murloc. You don't get to pick which ones.
Right. So you don't get the Murloc Tidehunter into this dream, and then you get a 3/2 and a 2/2.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So in Constructed, obviously, it encourages you to mix these types of different tribes, which you hadn't really been encouraged to do before. But in Arena, we're mixing them anyway, and you look at the value on this, it's not that good.
So when I first looked at it, I was like, oh man, this is 3-mana 3/3, so undervalue, right? But if you're able to give +1/+1, something that's really good. But then you look at how many beast, dragon, and murlocs you're drafting, and how many of them are going to stay on the board. It's okay. So dragons definitely,
like
that's rare.
0.5 per deck.
Yeah,
right?
You're probably getting like half a dragon per deck. Beasts, you can get a few. Murloc, maybe like 1 or something.
Probably not even 1.
We actually have the numbers,
Yeah, but
but
like remember like that your Murloc, not Murloc Tidehunter, the other one, Biofin Tidehunter
Mhm.
is lowering offering rates. That's like your most common Murloc that you see these days, and that's
right,
getting lowered offering rates. Corrupted Seer, another commonly seen Murloc, that's getting lowered offering rates. And you know what this expansion doesn't have? Murlocs.
right. Uh,
Or dragons for that matter.
no.
Okay, it has Bookworm, but that's such a bad card, no one's ever going to pick it. So
Yeah,
basically, it
that's
doesn't
true.
have any dragons and it doesn't have any
It has
Murlocs.
Pantry Spider for a beast.
Okay, no one's going to take that either. So it doesn't have any beasts either. Like, you see the problem, right? Like,
Right, right. Yeah. So this card, it initially sort of made me go, oh, it has some potential here. But when you run through the numbers, you're like, oh man, it really is lacking in that way.
and it should be lacking in that way. Otherwise, it would be overpowered and constructed.
Right.
That's kind of the thing, right? It's a constructed card. I'm not saying, oh, bad design. I'm just saying it's not made for arena. As arena players, we have to deal with it, and we have to figure out how to play with it, and when to draft it, and when not to draft it. But you gotta we'll put it in its perspective, right? It's not a good card.
No.
In the same way, like Tinkertown, like look at Tinkertown, right? It's a 3/3, it becomes a 4/4, and you get a spare part, but you need a mech, and it's hard to find that mech. This
Yeah.
is a little bit more flexible, but you don't get a spare part. Okay. Finally, probably in my opinion, the most interesting common card. It's a rare, so we don't see it as often, unfortunately, but it is, I kid you not, a hard removal neutral card. It has finally happened, right? Like, wow. Moat Lurker, 6 mana, 3/3, Battle Cry, destroy a minion. No death rattles.
Zero death rattle. But
Zero
if there
death
was a
rattles.
death rattle in some universe, it would be resummon it. And guess what? We're in that universe.
Aww.
I know.
And by
So,
the way, in case you're confused, you resummon it for your opponent, not for you. Unless you destroys your own minion, in which case you resummon it for yourself.
oh,
You could, right? Your minions could be a liability.
right. This is what you do when you attack with your shredder and a doomsayer pops out.
Mm-hmm.
Except that they would just destroy your moat lurker and then the doomsayer would kill it off anyways. But let's not consider that. No, let's not consider that. Yeah. So moat lurker, I think the design of this is fantastic as well. It's not like an insanely powerful card, right? When you look at this card, an analogous card I think would be Frost Elemental. Frost Elemental, same mana cost. You get +2/+2 worth of stats, and you freeze instead of basically just taking it off the board, right? So there's advantages and disadvantages. If you are way ahead, Moat Lurker should be really
Yeah, because it's like permanently removed from the game. Because they're not going to kill your Moat Lurker unless they use like a removal.
right. But if you just look at sort of the all the situations in which you want to use it, Frost Elemental is probably better. Like Frost Elemental is probably just a better card because
it is better.
Yeah, it is better. But I like the fact that they're introducing this as a neutral, right? It's got a very powerful effect. You're going to draft it. You're going to play it. It's not OP, but it introduces sort of this, hard removal for every single class mechanic, which we didn't have before. So.
Yep. And it's great when you have the board. It's such a win more card. Because you know what this does, Frost Elemental doesn't? It kills taunts.
Yes.
It kills things with abilities. It just removes the thing, and you don't have to worry about it. And if you have the board, your Moat Lurker is going to be difficult to kill. Because remember, there's not that many removals in the game anymore. And this expansion didn't really add all that much more removals either.
Right.
So it's an interesting card. And on the other hand, if you're behind, it really doesn't do much. Like, you have to be behind in a very particular way, which means you are behind in that the board was clear and your opponent dropped a huge thing. And then you drop a Moat Lurker, and you're like, haha, I got you. And then what your opponent does is play anything. And then you're like, oh, crap, my Moat Lurker is going to die the next turn. But even at that point, it's okay, kind of, because you've frozen your big opponent's giant minion for 2 turns, right? You freeze it the first turn because you got rid of it. And then in the second turn, even if your opponent kills your Moat Lurker on their turn, they get the minion back, but they can't do anything with the minion. because the minion has that like sleeping. I don't know. I like to call it summoning sickness still because I used to be an MTG player. But they can't do anything with it on that turn, so it's effectively frozen again.
Yep, that's true. And look, maybe Blizzard was just afraid Purify would be too powerful with this card.
And so they nerfed Purify rather than this card.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay then. But no, I mean Purify. Look, we make fun of Purify. It has its uses. It's just highly situational. It's really not like the worst card. You know what? I'm looking at our preliminary values right now, and I know exactly what Purify is going to be valued. And I will say that it is definitely one of the worst class cards that has been introduced, or one of the worst class cards that like ever gets introduced. But one thing I do want to also talk about with Karazhan is this is a really crappy expansion. Like, I hope everyone, like, you may not have, like, thought about it in this way, because you're not looking at it in the big meta picture the way we do all the time. But, like, there's no good cards in here. Like, we just went down the list before, right? Of, like, oh, man, that Warrior Weapon is really good. Fireland Portal is really good. And that's it.
Yeah.
There are no more premium cards. Those are the only two, and they're class cards. There's no neutral premium cards. There's there's not even neutral good cards. There are just like average and like a little bit above average cards. Like nothing jumps out at you. And to be fair, it's an adventure, right? Adventures usually don't have really good neutral cards, especially like neutral commons. I'm just going to go back to the Lightforge tier list right now to take a look. Neutral commons from adventures. I'm looking at rank 72 and above. Sludge Belcher. We had a Sludge Belcher at some point. That's it. It's just Sludge Belcher. This is the only thing that was 72 points or above neutral. Now, 62 to 70 margin. We got, like, Haunted Creeper. We got... That can't possibly be it.
I'm waiting here. I'm waiting.
Oh, no, and Zombie Chow in the 72 plus one.
Makes sense.
Was that, yeah, Zombie Chow was Nax. But these are all Nax. Haunted Creeper was Nax too, right? Like, we hadn't gotten good common cards in an adventure expansion for 2 expansions.
Yeah.
Wow. Is this really it? Is it really just Nax cards? This point is even better than I thought it was. Oh no, Tomb Spider. We got a Tomb Spider. Which is barely hitting the mark at 62, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Look, I mean, you're always afraid of neutral commons being too OP, right?
Wow. Neutral cards suck when they come from adventures.
Yeah. Neutral cards that come from adventures, I guess they don't want them to be too OP. They're too easy to get. I don't know.
Yeah. But, like, okay, so my point stands even harder now. Even more solid now. Which is that not much is going to happen on the neutral side.
No.
Normally, when you have a big expansion, the neutrals drive the meta. See Bog Creeper, which we totally called right off the bat, and we were totally right about. We're going to make a non-call here and say that none of these cards are going to impact the meta significantly by themselves, because they're just not good. You're not going to draft a lot of them. You're going to see them a lot, but there are better cards that's going to be offered.
No, I would be extremely surprised if it were anything else. And with Bog Creeper, once we saw, because Bog Creeper was sort of the card vomit that happened during the expansion, right? Like, it wasn't one of those cards that was trickled out. It was at the very end, in which was like, oh, here's a Bog Creeper along with 50 other cards. But once we saw Bog Creeper, we're just like, you got to be kidding me. Yeah. This is changing the way that everyone plays the arena.
I was so not excited about OG until that card vomit, and I saw Bog Creeper, and I was like, nope, never mind. And Cyclotron, they were released at the same time.
Yep,
and I was like, oh, never mind. The meta's changed forever, right? Like, huge meta changes. Whereas before, I was going to be like, wow, everything's going to be kind of the same.
Yeah.
But here, really, the big changes is going to be on the class card side and on the side of the OG metas going away. So that's going to be the biggest impact. This is just not.
Guys, obviously we're talking about this in an arena context, right? Like some people are one of the cards that people are really high on in this expansion is actually Violent Illusionist, right? 3 mana, 4/3. During your turn, your hero is immune. I can see that being ridiculous and constructed. right? And
I mean,
having
it's a good card in like Warlock and Rogue.
yeah, yeah, and so for Warlock and Rogue, like it could be a very good card. It won't change the arena. It won't
Yeah.
have sweeping implications. Like Bog Creeper and Kraken
Oh,
are
Kraken.
those are cards that change the way that the arena is
I
played.
remember Kraken when I saw that thing. I was
Right.
like, this is the best card ever.
Right.
Everyone's going to play slow enough for turn 9 because they're all going to pick it.
Right. Like, and on a lesser level, sort of like Zombie Chow, right?
Yeah.
Like those are cards in which shift arena by themselves. Violent Illusionist is not going to shift the arena. It's not even that great of a well. In some classes, obviously, it's going to.
It's not even that great, even in the best classes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very good, but it's not like premium.
Right. So, this is a card in which, yeah, it could be pretty decent in some classes, but you're not going to have the arena meta shifting cards that we have seen in previous expansions.
Yup. All right. Well, that's Karazhan. What we're going to do from now on, before every week, is actually to outline how the meta is going to change in that week. We just don't know yet because they don't tell us which cards are being released in week 1. We will have that information, however, by the next Lightforge, so that we will actually do what we said we do instead of this more general thing. But it's good. Now that we've seen all the Karazhan cards, we know what's coming. We know how things are generally not going to be changed. This is really like... It's a pretty weak expansion in terms of the cards that are being released. But like, Blackrock Mountain I actually really liked, and that's a pretty weak expansion too. So... Just because an expansion power level is not really high doesn't mean it doesn't like cause changes in the meta because of how it interacts with like the previous expansions. And I mean, I'm excited for this expansion coming out. It's just not going to happen on the neutral side. It's going to be these like class cards, right? And some of these are like that warrior card. That's game changer, right? For warriors.
It is.
Are there any other cards I would consider a game changer for a particular class? Even the class cards are not premium is the problem. There's a lot of good class cards, right? Cards you'll be happy to draft.
Kindly grandmother.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Super happy to draft it. Is it going to
Very good
change the
card.
way, no, not really, but it's going to bring a lot more consistency to it. But yeah, you're looking at Fool's Bane and Fireland Portal as your two standout cards, in my opinion. And everything else is just, it's a clear step down. You might say that Fool's Bane and Fireland's Portal are the mage and rogue of this expansion. And everything else just doesn't compare.
There you go.
All right. Let's move on. End this thing. Question from the GOAT.
Gotcha. So, question from the GOAT for this week. And it's a question that we ask before every single expansion. ADWCTA, what do you think is going to be the best soundbite from this expansion? Like, it doesn't matter whether it's a sort of battle cry, whether it's an attack sound or a death sound or whatever. Like, what do you think is going to be the best soundbite?
Okay. So, for whatever reason, and I'm still not 100% sure of the reason, Warlock seemed to have gotten a lot of silverware. And I think Karazhan is going to have some cool voice lines with its various silverwares that's attacking. Like, very punny. I'm expecting a lot of good puns coming from the silverware. Karazhan summons like a 3/3 this type of silverware, a 2/2 that type of silverware, and a 1/1 some other type of silverware.
Okay, broom is not silverware.
Fine. What is a broom?
It's
cleaningware?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. So 3 things. All right. What about you?
Okay, so I have a few. Karazhan was one of them. I think Bookworm is going to compete for best soundbite.
Really?
That thing, yeah. Because
it sounds boring as hell.
Because I'm expecting it to talk, right? And it'll be this intellectual dragon, and it looks kind of nerdy. And look, I know about nerdy things, all right? So
You just have a very weird definition of interesting, don't you?
Well, probably. Also, I'm expecting Kindly Grandmother to be like, it'll be a guy pretending to be a wolf, pretending to be a grandmother.
Okay, that's fair.
That's pretty great. It'll be like this gruff wolf voice pretending to be a grandmother.
That's fair.
I can't wait to hear that.
No, I'm
So
excited for Kindly Grandmothers. In fact, I'm just really excited for Hunter. I'm gonna play so much freaking Hunter in the next expansion. Because
yeah,
it's clear hunters are going to be back. The meta's going to be favorable. You're going to, something we didn't mention before. You're going to curve out more, just because weird thing. I don't want to get into it, but like weird things are happening with the offering rates in OG because of all the like large minions that got introduced that fit the curve, and that being dropped and adding on the neutral side 4 curve cards. One was a 1-drop, one's a 2-drop, and 2 or 3 drops. All of them, that's going to have an effect.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so you're going to curve out a bit more, which helps you with the tempo side too. Anyway, question from the GOAT was brought to you by our patrons. If you would like to support us, go to patreon.com/grinninggoat. Thank you guys very much for your support. And finally, we are going to play the arena after this. If you are watching this live, or if you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be up on the YouTube. Or if you're listening to the podcast and you want to see what it's actually like for us to play a game, this is not the one to watch. But we are about to play a rogue. The rogue, also known as the best class or the second best class in pretty much every meta, and our lowest win rate on the arena coup.
Surprising.
Yeah, always been our lowest win rate. It's never been not our lowest win rate. We just kind of suck with Rogue when we play together.
Yeah. So I think, man, rogues are really going to miss Shadow Strike, right? Shadow Strike is the one card that really kept them at or near the top of the meta. And it's just one of those super, super efficient sort of, good tempo cards as well that just enhance what rogues already did well, right? And that's something that we've addressed over and over again. Like if you give a class that does something well, more cards that do that thing well, they're just going to be really powerful. It's
what? Whoa! I'm going to challenge you right here.
What?
Because that's the opposite of what you say about Priest.
Okay. Unless that thing that you do well is late game and ignore the early game, and you keep on ignoring the early game.
Okay. So if what you do well is in the early game, then more of it is a lot better.
Or if what you do well is something that is just overall good, like tempo and removal.
You just don't like Priest. You just have no faith in the Priest's ability to get back into the game by just playing big stuff.
Like I said, you're basically just giving a makeover to a guy who just got his leg blown up. You can do all these things, and you can give him like a 5-course meal, but it doesn't matter that he's
now our first 12, because I've had a couple of 12-win priests. I think 3 in the OG. I think it's the most 12-win runs I've had of any class in OG was Priest, fitting into the theme of Year of the Priest, and because I think I'm really legitimately pretty good at Priest now because I really focused on it since January. And I will say, first 12-win run, I promise, in the Karazhan meta as Priest. Not that the first 12-win run will be a Priest, but the first Priest 12-win run will definitely have. I can't even remember what name that card is. It's so bad I've forgotten the name of it.
Purify.
Oh, that's right. That's such a bad name too. Okay. It will have a Purify.
All right.
I can tell you're impressed.
I'm super impressed. I'm also, I don't know, man. This has not been the happiest Lightforge, which is kind of disappointing because it is the 1-year anniversary of the Lightforge. But it's
marred. It's marred by Blizzard and the things they do. The way the arena is marred by Blizzard and the things they do. It's such a good game, and Blizzard has done such a good job with it in the big picture. But then things happen.
Yeah.
And okay, let's go back to the Rogue. So, we know Rogue is good. We know we're going to play Rogue. This is the last run in the OG meta, so we can end it on a good note by getting this Rogue pretty decently high. So, before we kind of... I think the Rogue's actually going to get better next expansion. I've said it before, just in terms of the meta. What I find problematic, and this is how you beat Rogues in OG, right? Like, if you want to be a good OG player, you got to learn how to beat Mages and Rogues. So this is how you beat Rogues. You just don't do stuff. Like, the Rogues need to punish you for doing things. That's what they're good at. That's what they're really good at. When you do things in the early game, they combo stuff out. they backstab, they just get rid of everything you do, and then you're done. You're just playing stuff reactively afterwards, like one by one, and hoping the rogue doesn't have enough cards. So instead what you do is you make it really awkward for the rogue in the early game, and you just like do as little as possible. Like high health stuff, low attack stuff, don't do things, preserve your card advantage, don't try to super tempo out onto the board because you just won't succeed against a rogue at any high win rate. And so after you hang out for a bit, then you have all these cards that you would have played earlier on, but that you can tempo with later on in the game. And later on in the game, if the rogues haven't blown their cards that would have, comboed really well before, they can then blow them now, and they can't play their big stuff, which will actually hit you to the face and win the game for you. So you have effectively dragged out the game just by not giving them stuff to do by like 2 or 3 turns.
Right. It's real, and it feels so bad too, right? Because it's not like you're guaranteed in like putting yourself in a better / winning position by not doing stuff.
No, you're not.
You're just picking the lesser of two evils here. Because let's face it, not doing stuff is bad.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times against a rogue in particular, doing stuff is even worse.
Because doing stuff is the equivalent of not doing stuff. You're just wasting cards.
Yeah, and it's terrible. And a lot of times, yes, you can sort of drag out the game because the rogue doesn't have these power turns that he can just unleash upon you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's part of the reason why rogue is so powerful. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you don't play, that's always bad because you're not getting ahead, right? At the most, you're sort of disrupting what the rogue wants to do. But if you play into it, there's also a chance that you will put pressure on the rogue, but a lot of times you won't, and the rogue just flips the board and then steamrolls to victory.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's how it goes. So hopefully we'll take a rogue and we'll have an aggro control playstyle and a good draft with a lot of shadow strikes, and we'll roll over. That's coming up next. If you're listening to this on the podcast, that's it for us. We will continue next week with more Karazhan analysis, and we would have already played Wing 1 of Karazhan meta. So we will have some experience to which, hopefully, to tell you that yes, we were right, yes, the meta is faster, yes, there are significantly less taunts, and everything's kind of opened up a bit again. Hopefully. But we'll see. And we'll also know what cards have been released into the meta. And we'll analyze all of those cards to the extent we haven't today. And we'll also do the upcoming cards. So that's what's coming up in the next Lightforge. Tune in then. Until then, this is ADWCTA.
This is Merps. See you guys.